I know very little about mecha anime. So of course that means I am the most qualified person to review Gurren Lagann. The anime is generally well written, however the first half of it was a bit of a drag, so not only will this serve as a little bit of a review, but also be a little bit of first impressions on mecha anime. There was quite a lot of world building and cast establishment, and it did take a while for it to happen. Now, world building is very important, and I am very glad that they actually did it. It gave us long-standing characters who were and are reusable. It also set up a nice balance of details to use in the second part. I could definitely tell that the anime was trying to find its footing in the first couple of episodes of the first part.
But fear not, for in the second arc things start to ramp up quite a bit. Also, not to mention, the first arc isn't entirely devoid of its moments. It definitely has some of its own moments, I can say that much for sure.
Fancy transition. Simon goes to prison, charged with war crimes. In prison, he meets old enemies. This links back to my point about long-standing characters. Viral actually becomes a major supporting character and was redeemed. If you don't know, Viral was one of their old enemies. Not much has been developed out of Viral's character other than originally being an antagonist. Although I do really like the idea of him being immortal so that he can witness and record all the events that happened. They also bring back Lord Jinnum, the Spiral King, who they took down in the first part to reclaim the surface. I like that the production team had enough confidence to do that and integrate it relatively well. Having Lord Jinnum leads to wild progression, but at the same time he is kind of overpowered because he saves Team Daigoren's hides multiple times. The gunman sides also kind of go crazy because of him. When my friend told me that they were universe-sized mechs, I thought it would be a consistent progression throughout the series. Instead, the first 16 episodes set up everything and Gurren Lagann stays the same size for a really long time. Then in the last few episodes, we jump to universe-sized mechs, that being Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, which lets me talk about the anti-spiral. When the anti-spiral is introduced, we know next to nothing about them. So you learn as you watch, and by the end of it you realize that the anti-spiral is entirely reasonable in their ambitions and not actually that bad. They just have terrible methods. Some might say it is a bit reminiscent of a certain purple figure. A detail that I really liked about the anti-spiral was how they decided to shroud this people in mystery. It made it quite difficult to know what move they would make next, other than maybe guessing a cliche that they might pull, which they did. More than once, but it gave us a killer finishing blow at the end of the series, so I'm really not complaining. At the start of the anime, Simon is scared. Kamina teaches him to overcome this by refusing to do anything without Simon. Thus, Simon becomes stubborn and won't give up, later directly challenging Kamina's character. The further you watch, the more Simon starts to take up the role Kamina left. In this scene, Kamina remarks that Simon is taller than him, visually supporting the idea that Simon has in fact grown up and no longer needs Kamina to lead. I was wondering where Yoko had been. We found out that she'd been teaching children on a small island for about a year. This was also taken as a chance for Yoko to be built upon as a character a bit. Now that we have the cast re-established, we go into a sweet team assembly. It ignites a passion to see a team just before they rush off into battle. A very iconic scene that comes to mind is the Avengers in the Battle of New York. When you think Avengers, it is probably one of the scenes that is flashing by in your mind right now. What I've noticed, whether you're going from Voltron to Gundam to even Evangelion to an extent, teamwork is the name of the game, and I think it is a great message to send. But mecha is just a niche I am simply not willing to properly get into at this point in time. However, Gurren Lagann as a singular anime is kind of sort of a different story. You see, something I realized is that this anime speaks to me in a way that nothing else really has. It uses a bunch of elements that I love, and I loved them because it reminded me of my imagination. But not my imagination currently, more along the lines of my imagination when I was a child.
More of a child.
I could see the thought process that went into this show being almost similar as to the things that I liked or would have liked in a show as a child.
Again, as more of a child.
The way that I have explained it here is it's as if someone took a pencil and just drew out my imagination. I didn't notice it at first, but now looking back on my favorite moments from the show, there isn't anything I would really change. Who the hell do you think I am?